up, nerds and nerdettes, and we little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big John and G, the Two Gun Fix-It presents Legendary Gaming. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us here for our Tabletop Takeout Tuesday episode. Now you know we do an episode of something or other every day of the week. And on Tuesdays you can find this series here. And this particular version of the series is our traditional bullet point reasons as to why I like or love a particular title. What it is that gets me excited about knowing the fact that it's hitting the table. Yeah. And this game, my friends, this is a game I've had for a few years. It hasn't hit the table enough. I'll be honest with that. But maybe some of the madness that goes with this game. Oh, and it's not what you think when I say madness. Not what you think. You'll see what I mean. But this game can be quite maddening in itself. So please, join me down the table and I'll tell you why it is that I enjoy London. All right, let's face it, my friends, 1666 was not a good year for London, now was it? In case you're unaware, this is the year that London burned to the ground. It needed to be rebuilt, and that's what this game is about, and that's where you step in. Now, that itself is something that catches my attention. I mean, the game is about you and the others around the table being architects and being tasked with literally rebuilding London after the Great Fire of 1666. And it's going to be your vision that's going to form the new London that's going to be a staple of the world from this point moving forward. Can you handle that? Well, being a historic game, I think right there gets it some points. There's a lot of historic games, learning games, history games out there, and this is just adding another great story from history to the board game collection world. So now this game, right up front, I gotta say that there is something about this game that it's wow, there's a lot of tension in this game. At least me and the 20-sided Warriors found it to be that way. The balance that you have to find between architecturally rebuilding the city, from whole neighborhoods to specific buildings and places, keeping that balanced with the poverty in London, especially at that time, and then consider the fact that everything burnt down. Yeah, sure, there was construction jobs around, but that was about it at that moment. And for most of the masses, it just meant more and deeper poverty. And this is reflected in the game heavily. And it is so difficult. We have such a hard time striking that balance between the masses of the poor against what we're doing. And the amount of money that it takes to rebuild an entire city is adding on to all those levels of tension that the game already has. Now, I find the art in this game amazing for one simple factor. It reminds me, it's very reminiscent, I think, to old-style history books. The art style that you would see, at least here growing up in America, going to school in the 70s, using books from the 60s in many cases, seeing this style of art, it is familiar. And I enjoy that. It makes it feel a little bit more like a history lesson when it's just a game about history. But yeah, the art, it reminds me of those old school history books the way the art is presented. And thematically, that's fitting. And anything that is fitting thematically, especially in a visual sense like this, is definitely going to help a historic-based game, right? And it certainly does. Now, I was talking about before how bad the poverty situation is. Like out of control bad when you're building, right? But that's not the only balance, so to speak. I also found that there's a great synergy of effects in this game between specific buildings, neighborhoods, and even some of the characters that you play and you bring into play through the use of the cards. Is when you get the right combination down, that is going to really help you fly through the game. It's going to help you manage things like your poverty levels, as well as your banknotes, and it does help gel and pull things together. So no matter how much of an imbalance it may seem at times with the black poverty cubes just building up in front of you, you do have ways of controlling this situation, and that's where the strategy and the tactics in this game really lie. And I think that balance is done and handled amazingly well with the mechanics of this game. Ultimately, this game is a race. It's not billed that way. It's not talked about that way. I don't even think any other reviewer out there is going to tell you it's a race. But at its heart, that's what it is. This game is a race for prestige in rebuilding London. And who's going to get most of it, more of it rebuilt in the most, prestigious way possible. And that's how you're going to be scoring your points. And again, I think that is just fitting. It is just so visually fitting when I think, and I say visually because when I think of the past, when I think of that incident in the past, and the places in London at that time and the needs that it has, I can visually see it as being very logical. So this game has a lot of different balances, a lot of little nuanced bits of strategy in it that all together pull it together to being a really great game. And if you're working this game right, you are going to spend the entire time on a teeter-totter of madness, so to speak, trying to manage the rebuilding of the city with the poverty level of the city. It is a hard balance to strike. And that is where this game is. That's the heart of this game right here, I think. And it's a race of prestige to do it. So please, if you have any interest whatsoever in historic board games, or maybe you're just an Anglophile, then this game is worth it for you to take a deeper look at, inform yourself, and then make a decision. But I think if you've watched enough of this video through now, from beginning to end, I think you're interested. So please, go get more information on London.